Welcome to Sober.Coffee, a weekly coffee chat sharing experience, strength, and hope for anyone on the sober road to recovery. You can download Sober.Coffee weekly on all podcast platforms and check us out on Instagram at Sober.Coffee Podcast and on Twitter at Sober.Coffee Pod. To learn more about us and to help support these sessions, visit online at Sober.Coffee. Here are your hosts, two guys on their own path to recovery, Mike and Glenn. Let's join them at the coffee shop.
Loving the coffee shop.
Man, I love the Sober Coffee Shop.
Yeah.
I always love coming back to the Sober Coffee Shop and just chatting about things on the sober path.
Yeah.
I love connecting with people on the sober path.
Well, you know, it's funny when we launched this a couple of years ago, it was I didn't know that we could fill up a docket with topics, but you know, it's amazing the sobriety and the road to recovery. And we've talked about this. It's simple yet complicated. There's a lot of elements to it if you're really working it.
I remember we started off with the 12 steps.
Yeah, right. Sure, yeah.
And kind of we got the first 12 episodes done.
Yeah, right. Okay, done. We're done.
And then it's like, now what?
Right.
And I'm telling you, if you spend time on this sober path. In fact, I just connected. You had just sent me a text today. You just sent me a text today, and hang on a second. I just want to pull it up and read it. It says, if you are newly sober, and this is a demonstration of how I love how this works. It says, if you are newly sober and struggling, hold on. You have no idea how good it's about to get.
Isn't that true?
And just today, I connected on social media with a guy who did a post. And in about 4 paragraphs, he just shaped kind of the whole world of early sobriety. You know, like this first couple weeks or the first couple months. And just kind of things that are said to each other and, you know, kind of the mental mumbo jumbo, like, oh, the glass half full, you know, that kind of bullshit. You know, that doesn't do well when you're, you know, first week of sobriety.
No, right.
You know? So, and I actually reached out to him and I said, dude, you got to come on, you know, sit in the coffee shop with us and let's just explore that.
Right.
Right. So there is an endless list of topics.
Yeah.
In fact, you know, we have so many right now. It's, you know, from listeners and from input and from Google, you know, and social media, right? And just people
and
that
our
we
own
know.
lives.
And our lives. I mean, we can fill it up.
You know, one of the things I want to do a self plug here, and I'm doing it for a purpose. On the website Sober.Coffee, it not only gives you links to the podcast, right? But you're already listening, so I guess you don't need direction for how to get to the podcast. But it's got all the podcasts on there. And then it's also got a resource room, and we try and pepper in whatever things we talk about topically, other resources, links to getting the big book from Alcoholics Anonymous, songs that we reference, and then we also have a section called Writings, and writings are expounded show notes, if you will. It's taking a topic point and really boiling down what the facts are. It's worth a read if you're a reader. Give it a read. It's only out there to help the next struggling alcoholic.
No, absolutely. And I'll tell you what, that resource room and now the writings, I'm telling you what. I mean, you know, it's funny. I listened to an episode last week, and I mean, it's different sitting here. First of all, you know, when I re-listen to some, and I once in a while I'll re-listen, I'm amazed at all the stuff I missed.
Right.
Like, you know, I'm either thinking of the next thing I'm trying to, you know, say, or, you know, somebody on social media is hitting us live or whatnot. And I'm like, man, Mikey just threw out a nugget. Right?
Nugget, right.
And there's so many nuggets that come out of these. It's probably worth listening to, you know, 2 or 3 times, you know. You know, I get value out of, as they say, repetition's the mother of all knowledge.
Mm-hmm. And we just, again, our motive, our objective is just to help the next person on the road to recovery,
Right.
whether they're curious about sobriety, whether they're early in sobriety, or they're just maintaining their program.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I connected a guy today on social media, and he was, you know, blasting AA because AA doesn't work. And I get a little defensive on that. And I'm like, you know what? Hey, man, First of all, I'm pro sobriety.
right.
If you don't like AA,
If Smart is working for
and
you, if Life
you
is
make up your
working
own
for you,
program,
go for it.
or he was making up his own program. He wasn't latched into anything.
Okay.
He goes, I got no meetings, no sponsor, no program. I'm doing this all myself. And I'm like,
Okay.
dude, that's great, man. I'm
That's
pro
right.
sobriety.
Yeah.
But you cannot say AA doesn't work.
No, I mean,
You just
statistically
can't.
speaking,
You just can't say that.
I'm
That's
surrounded
foolish.
physically and digitally with living, breathing, walking proof.
So I
this
mean,
program works for
I
people
almost
who work it.
I almost feel sorry for people that say that. In fact, we had a guest on recently, Dr. John, and I asked him. I said, "What do you say to the people who say that AA doesn't work?"
Mm-hmm.
He said, "I would say that you haven't surrendered and didn't give it a real chance."
Right. Yep.
And I believe that. And the reason I believe that, because there were many years that I was in AA, and I didn't surrender. I did it my way. I worked the program when I felt like working it, and I said what I thought what people wanted to hear instead of what was really going on inside of me, inside of my heart, inside of my head. And I got the result, which was painful relapses. And only when I surrendered and worked that program, the words of the book, I don't try to change the words in the book, because then it's Glenn. I mean, I kind of look at people that change the words around. I'm like, that's an ego thing, right? I mean, I don't change words because I need somebody to tell me exactly how it is,
Right.
because I'm tired of my own shit.
Well, and your own shit didn't work for you.
No,
It didn't work for me.
I had plenty of proof of
I had
that.
46 years of research from the time I was 13 years old to the
That's
time I was
awesome.
59,
That's awesome.
and it never worked. So today we're finishing up our series on trending topics. And
Hashtag trending.
Hashtag trending. And what we did was we went and looked at what people were Googling. So we've covered topics from cravings versus addiction, mindful drinking, California sober.
Oh, that was
go
my
back and
favorite
listen
one.
to that one, because I think Glenn was a little soft. You might want to go back and listen to Glenn,
Well,
the softer side
I was
of Glenn.
wishy-washy.
Yeah, you were wishy-washy. No, Glenn laid it all out there.
Yeah, I apologize. I was a little focused.
And
on
then
that
the last one was early signs of alcoholism. Now, we're really going to get out of our lane a little bit today, and we debated, do we talk about this or do we not talk about it? Because, we are two guys that drugs are part of my background, right? And it's part of my story. And, maybe the alcohol fueled it, maybe it caused that, whatever. I'm no doctor. I don't know. All I know is it's part of my story. But this is where things get serious. It is an unbelievable disaster what's going on out there with drug addiction right now, and the fentanyl and the opiates. It's a disaster, and it's affecting almost everybody I know knows somebody who's got this absolutely tragic addiction. So today's topic that people are Googling in the tunes of hundreds of thousands searches for this is signs a loved one has a drug addiction. Now, what does that have to do with two guys on the sober path to recovery? Talk about AA. We talk about our addiction to alcohol. Can we talk on this? I think we must, just because I think even if people that are listening are focused on their alcoholic disease, if you will, I think that they probably know somebody. And so signs of a loved one that has a drug addiction is one of the top search terms. I think it's time for us to talk about it.
Yeah, so here's what I know just from being in the rooms so long and so much is there are usually, and I can't even guess the number, maybe half the people in the room are in relationships where the other people are they're Googling this for their family member,
Right.
because they're wondering if their spouse or their mother or father or kids or whatever have a problem, right? Have a drinking or drug problem. So I think it's maybe not specifically for the listener in their own sober journey, but I'm telling you, there are many people, and I know many, that have family members around them where they're asking this question and they're concerned about one of their loved ones.
Yeah. I sent you a text last week. I was on one of the major news sites, and they had the statistics come out for 2020 deaths, right? And first of all, I want to tell you that there was more alcohol-related deaths in 2020 for people 65 and younger, more alcoholic deaths than COVID deaths in 2020.
That's amazing.
But yet, who got the headlines? Now, guess what stat wasn't even covered?
Well, that's because somebody's agenda, you know?
Yeah, right. So, but here's the thing. It's a real deal out there. So let's dive in. I imagine you always come in with a list, but let me lead off with a couple of, there are physical indicators of substance abuse and then behavioral and emotional signs, right? So I'm going to kick off and just talk about some of the physical things you could be looking for, right? And I'm going to preface this by saying we're no doctor, we're no experts at this. We just want to have the conversation. And if somebody is Googling signs a loved one has a drug addiction, hopefully they'll come upon this podcast and we'll give them some direction or some hope. That's the bottom line.
Love it.
So severe weight changes. Okay. Shaking hands, feet, or head. Runny nose. Now that's not just, a cocaine problem. That's an opiate problem as well, a drug addiction problem. Flushed face, blushing, unusual body smells, excessive talking or hyperactivity. I'm almost done. Red eyes, which Visine solved my problem for 46 years. Pupils that are larger or smaller than usual. Now, Visine doesn't help that.
Right. No, it does not.
It is what it is. There's no
helps the red, but not the size.
There's no pill to get around that. And then, of course, obvious presence of markings on their arms. And then the last two are tooth decay or slowed to unsteady coordination. Those are some of the physical things. I'm going to stop for a second and just say, that could be the signs of COVID, for Pete's sake, in many cases, right? We said it in the last episode. If you're thinking it, pay attention to it.
Absolutely. And I possessed, as I think back, I possessed a lot of those.
Yeah, absolutely I did. Yep.
So let's start. First of all, I love how you broke it down in the physical and then kind of the mental and behavior.
Yeah, we're going to talk about those, right?
No, I just love that. Yeah. So, a couple on the behavior side, the mental side and behavior side. One is being secretive.
Mm-hmm. And that could
be the bottles.
Well, hide the bottles if you're an alcoholic. Keep yourself in your room if you just don't want to be around people. You want to isolate and hide yourself and hide the stuff, right?
Or you don't tell people where you were, right? And the second thing that ties in close to that is lying,
right?
I mean, if you're being secretive and lying, that's a clear sign that there's a problem, that you're trying to hide something,
right? Something, right? And look, it could be a drug addiction, or it could be something else, but
it could be a shopping addiction.
It could be a shopping
addiction. Right? But I think if you have an addiction, I think you are being secretive or lying.
And how do we know that? Because we were.
Yeah. And we've been around thousands of people who we know their stories.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Next one is mood swings.
Yeah, right.
Cravings, antsy, hungover, hangry, cranky. But mood swings. I think when you're drinking, you're lovable, you're hateful, you're numb.
Right.
Major changes in sleep and energy.
Right.
If you're kind of quote unquote high, you got a lot of energy. You're talking a lot.
You're up. You're moving around.
You're up.
Right.
And then when you're
down, you're crashed.
Really drunk, or when you take certain drugs, you're down. You're out. You're crashed.
And at some point, your body is going to force yourself to rest, and then what's normal rest? Well, for most people, it's going to bed anywhere between 9 and 11 o'clock at night, and waking up at anywhere between 5 and 7 o'clock in the morning. What's abnormal is somebody who's staying in bed all day.
Right. Next one, which would be mental or behavior changes, is attitude changes.
Oh, yeah, right.
Maybe from a positive attitude to a lethargic or negative attitude.
Mm-hmm.
Here's one for me that I really noticed for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember all the doctors I went to that failed me. I remember describing it as being pleasure deaf, DEAF.
Okay.
So what's listed here in my list is a loss of interest in cool things.
Right.
So I define it as pleasure deaf, meaning that I would do things that I used to love, and I got zero dopamine rush out of it. I got zero pleasure, zero enjoyment, zero knowledge that was something cool to do. It was like I was just, marked in time.
Can I tell you something? If my wife had that conversation with you years ago, she'd say, I love, this is a Mike thing, I love my yard, my garden, right? And I at one count, I had over 100 species of perennials in my yard, right? And that's I got them all like split from other people's yards, but anyway, I meticulously tend to that garden, and I just stopped doing it. And if she would have known that was a sign, again, I said before, she couldn't say, hey, I'm seeing a sign. It wouldn't have probably changed my course of my destiny, but it would have made me stop she would have been at least able to acknowledge the fact that I had an addiction.
So quick question.
Yeah.
Are you doing the flowers again?
Oh, I am indeed, yes.
See, I mean, that's just...
Love it.
Now, so my example is not flowers, and it just clicked for me. So I grew up and I love skiing. I mean, I just love skiing out west. I mean, it just feeds my soul. And I didn't ski for 15 years.
Wow.
Just like you didn't do your garden, yeah. I didn't ski.
When are you skiing this year? You got your trip booked?
Absolutely, I do.
Yeah.
And it was 2019 was the first time I went skiing again in 15 years, right? So I went 19, 20, 21, and now I'm going in 22.
That's fantastic.
And I mean, so that loss of interest in cool things, things you used to like, right? I mean, that was really big for me. Next one is failing with obligations.
Yep, right.
Right? Not paying bills, not doing the chores, not staying clean as you used to clean, right? Not my big thing, if I look back, is I didn't register my car on time for probably 12 years in a row.
What's a village sticker? I have no idea. I'm like the first guy in line to get my village sticker.
I didn't pay my taxes. I didn't fill out my thing.
No, right.
I was just over it.
Oh, absolutely.
So I blew off all my obligations, right? But, start looking at the early signs, right? Are we starting to miss, right? Next one is loss of memory. You know, loss of memory. Now, some of that's because blackout, but some of it's just because your brain's being overloaded, right? With booze, And the last one that I had was stealing. So normally when there's an addiction, there's stealing involved somewhere, somehow. Stealing on expense reports, stealing time, stealing money, stealing property,
That's extreme.
Stealing pills.
It's extreme, but, you're right. It's not so extreme to start stealing from your business account, but when you start stealing from your mother or your grandmother, that becomes extreme. So a couple things. We had a lot of overlap. A couple last things that I had. Sudden changes in friendships. Right. And again, these are behavioral changes you can look for. All of a sudden, I'm not hanging with. You've stopped hanging with the people you were hanging with, right?
Friendships are family too, right?
That's right. And declining performance. I think you talked about that.
Yep.
Depression. Outwardly signs of depression is a big one. Now, that's also some people are depressed, right? I mean, there's a lot of dual diagnosis stuff out there. Right.
You can be depressed without being alcoholic.
Right. Paranoid thinking. Again, kind of goes to the extreme. It goes by the stealing, but all of a sudden you're thinking people are out to get you. And, I mean, Withdrawal from unusual activity hobbies, you covered that. Unexpected legal issues.
Yep.
And then the last two are aggression, which is really a defense mechanism.
Yeah, it's funny where the aggression comes out when somebody's challenging you about your addiction.
Oh, boy, did I get...
That's when...
did I get angry.
I'm not really an aggressive guy, but man, I'll tell you
should
what.
have seen me, yeah.
When somebody would fire me up about my alcoholism.
Yeah, that's right. I got called out and...
Super aggressive.
Oh, super aggressive. And the last one, and, I'm going to leave it at this because it's probably the most important one. But, and again, I've got some resources I'm going to throw up in the resource room. But so I'm not going to go through them right now, but they're going to be in the resource room, and they come from all kinds of great, resources. But there's a million things on Google. But here's what I want to leave you with: the thoughts of suicide and signs of that. Google signs of suicide. We're not going to dive into that right now. But first of all, I want to say that if you're at that point in your addiction, there's help immediately. There's a number you can call. What is the 3-digit number now? It's on our resource room.
988?
988, yeah. So you can call 988 and, reach out. If you see signs of suicide, reach out. Get help. It's not too late.
Yeah, no, it's very important. And if you're Googling signs a loved one has a drinking or drug problem, right? Then I guess the second
you should
question,
be reaching out for help already.
Second, but to who, right? So
Right.
A couple things are, a couple tools that you can research. We're not going to solve them all here on this podcast, but one is an intervention for that loved one.
Yeah.
Right. That's a whole complicated thing. There's a whole strategy on how to do that.
Right.
I don't know. Right.
Right.
All I know is that's a very good tool.
How about Al-Anon?
That's a second one, Al-Anon, right?
Yeah.
Because I've got a sponsee and he's struggling, right? So his significant other reaches out and asks. She's asking me how she can fix him. I'm like, can't fix him.
Can't fix him.
I said, what you can do is you can focus on yourself.
That's right.
and get help for you because you need help. And I was a little bold with her. I said, you're enabling him.
Right.
He's not working. She's paying all the bills, and she's supporting him. His crazy behavior, she's paying. So I'm like, why would he get a job?
Right.
Why would he stop drinking?
Right.
He's got a life right now. You're supporting
him.
100%.
You're enabling him.
Right. So I said, hey, you should go to Al-Anon.
Yeah.
She started going to Al-Anon, and I said, get some individual therapy.
Right.
I said, that's really going to make a difference.
Let me just jump on Al-Anon for a second. We did an episode. Please go back and listen to it. Kathy joined us from Al-Anon. She did a great job. But here's the thing. Just like an AA meeting, my wife went to Al-Anon, okay, unbeknownst to me, during my addiction. She went to Al-Anon, and it didn't work for her. Why didn't it work for her? Because she got into a bad meeting where they were just beefing about people, and she didn't want to hear about other people's problems. Like anything else in life, if you don't like a restaurant, go to another restaurant. There's not a lack of restaurants. If you don't like the meeting you're going to, try Al-Anon, but try it a couple of times. Get plugged into a good, healthy Al-Anon meeting where they talk about servicing yourself and making yourself healthy. And because you're not going to be able to fix the addict. You can't fix the addict.
Can I jump in?
Yeah, please.
On that bad meeting thing?
Yeah.
This is my experience. I'm just going to share my experience. I have found that today it is really hard to find a bad meeting.
Oh, I concur.
And yet, when I was working my own sober program in AA, and I'd go to meetings, and
Very
then
judgmental.
Every meeting was bad, right? And so what I have deduced from those two key data points, it's not the meeting. It was me.
Yeah, right. There you go.
So I have found when I have quacky meetings today, and there's once in a while I go to a quacky meeting, it's because of the headspace that I'm in.
Yeah, right.
And when early on, I was hearing things I didn't want to hear. was like going that girl that goes to the therapist. She just keeps going until she hears what she wants. Right. Sure. Well, I couldn't find the meeting that said, "Hey, you can still drink. I'm going to tell you how to drink." Mm-hmm. I could never find it, and I was always judgmental. I was always the smartest guy in the room, and I always failed, and I just didn't like the meetings. Right. So, if you're out there and you go to meetings, hey, maybe just keep going back.
Right.
Keep going back. Maybe. The more you go back, the more you listen, the more you learn. I'm telling you, I rarely have a bad meeting today. And when I do, it's my own fault.
The worst meeting I went to was the first one out of rehab.
Yep.
And these guys were so rough. I mean, they were just rough. And they're like, you're just, that's what I heard, right? Mm-hmm. It's like my favorite group now. Because I just kept going back because I wanted to get better. And these guys, I'm sitting around the table, and they were gruff, and they were rough, but they had sobriety. I wanted that. I kept going back.
Right. So there's a page in the big book at 446 on acceptance. I'm not sure if that's the right page number.
No, but I'm impressed just that you took a stab at it.
Yeah, but I think I swung and I missed. No, but that's acceptance, right? Mm-hmm. And that's, hey, for me, I went to early meetings and I looked for differences. I looked, well, they're not this and they're not that, and they're not this and they're not, well, they didn't have it that bad, and I, my meetings changed when I went in and I looked for similarities. Mm-hmm. And it's so easy to find the similarities if you're just aware and, but I learned acceptance, and I learned to go in there and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to accept this, and I'm going to accept this person talking for 12 minutes when I don't want to hear what they have to say. I'm telling you, a lot of it's my problem. I don't have the patience. I'm not in the patient zone during that period of time. And so
I'm going to leave
a little sidebar.
I want to leave with this. If you got nowhere to turn to podcasts at Sober.Coffee.
Yep.
Just turn there. We can point you in the right direction. Whether you're doing it for yourself or you're doing it for a loved one.
Yeah, we don't solve any problems, but man, we have a lot of resources, and we know how to connect and point, and and we also know how to just connect and listen.
Yeah, love it. Love you.
Love you, brother.
All right, man. Thanks.
All right, man. See you later.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us for today's coffee chat. To contact the show, email us at podcast@sober.coffee. If you need immediate help, the AA hotline is 800-839-1686. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 800-273-8255. Remember, Mike and Glenn are sharing their own journey on the path to recovery. Any suggestions, medical or otherwise, are their own experiences and should not be viewed as professional advice. See you next week, and remember, there is a solution.